Hey everyone, Amar here. In this video, I'd like to share with you one of the deepest human fears. This fear is holding you back in so many areas of your life, right? This fear is not what you think it is. So I want to explain what this fear is, where this fear comes from, how this fear shows up in your life, and how you can overcome this fear forever. Okay, before we get into the video, I just want to say if you're new to the channel, you like this sort of thing, feel free to subscribe. Also check me out on Instagram if you're on there as well. So without further ado, let's get into the video. What is this deep human fear that is running your life, that is robbing you of opportunities, that is holding you back? Like I said, it's not what you think it is. I know when you talk about the deepest human fear, most people would probably assume it's the fear of death, right? That's quite scary. I would suggest that there's some fears that are even scarier or fearful than the fear of death. One of them, I believe, and I'll explain why, is the fear of rejection, right? I know straight away you might be thinking, yeah, rejection's not great, but it's not as bad as death. But please let me explain. So I want to take it back to kind of thousands of years ago where humans were living in tribes, in groups, and we were more connected, right? We know that we evolved as kind of social animals, right? Just like animals do now. Animals tend to live in packs in the wild, right? In them times, rejection from the group, exclusion from the group, if you were kicked out from the group, that was the worst thing that could possibly happen to you, okay? If you were excluded or kicked out from the group, your chances of survival were severely diminished, right? Your chances of finding a partner and passing on your genes severely diminished. You were probably shamed because you must have done something wrong, right? And you were probably going to be alone as well. So not only are you going to die, you're going to be lonely and you're going to be ashamed and just feel awful and rejected, right? Versus someone who was part of the group and maybe they died, right? For whatever reason, maybe they had an accident or they just grew old. That person could have been loved and respected by their community and the people around them. So their death would have had some dignity, okay? The person who was rejected and kicked out the tribe, their death had literally no dignity. It was the worst sort of death that you can possibly imagine. That's why I say the fear of rejection is worse than the fear of death. Because death, if you're loved and respected, can have some dignity to it. And this fear is quite an evolutionary fear. If you've studied trauma, you'll understand that many of these deep fears get programmed into our kind of limbic system, our reptilian brain, which is the most primitive part of our mind. It's a very deep part which is difficult to reach and reprogram. And so because animals and even humans were living like this for so long, I believe the fear of rejection is so deeply programmed into this part of our brain, into our nervous systems, right? It's difficult to overcome that. And it controls literally so much of how we live our lives. Now, let's look at how this fear holds you back in life. It'll hold you back in so many different ways. I'll just give you a couple of examples. One I would suggest would be you don't live the type of life that you want to live, right? Maybe you don't pursue your true goals, your true passions, and do what you want to do. I believe that's a fear of rejection, right? Maybe you're afraid that you'll fail. Failure really is a form of rejection because you won't be accepted. You won't become one with whatever you want to achieve, right? And obviously it's closely related to the fear of not being good enough. If you fail, that rejection is going to make you feel unworthy, okay? So that's one place it shows up. Second place, obvious one, is relationships. If you're someone who's trying to attract a certain type of person into your life, but you're afraid of being rejected, then the chances of you attracting that partner is not very high. If you take, for example, a young man, let's say he wants to attract a particular female. He might perceive that female to have higher value than him, right? Maybe he thinks she's more attractive. Maybe she has more options, or at least she does in his mind. So he has this strong fear of rejection, okay? And so either he won't approach her at all, and that is just him rejecting himself. Rejecting himself is not going to feel as bad as being rejected by the other person, or he may approach her, but in the back of his mind, he has this deep fear of rejection. So he's not really going to be able to be himself, which means the interaction probably won't go very well. Someone who's free of the fear of rejection or got some mastery over it will display confidence, right? When you're not afraid of if someone's going to reject you or not, it's a whole different energy, right? And the other way it shows up, well, there's many ways it shows up, but the other example I wanted to give you was someone who has social anxiety, right? I've thought a lot about this because I used to have social anxiety, and at its core, I believe social anxiety is a fear of rejection, at the very core, okay? The socially anxious person is afraid that the other people won't like them. They'll reject them. So usually what happens is the anxious person might reject themselves first by not even interacting or attempting to interact, or they'll put on a fake persona, a mask, so the true self can't be rejected, okay? So these are just some examples of where this fear will be showing up in your life. I'm sure most people can relate with that. Now, overcoming the fear means you find the confidence to go for what you want. You're not afraid to ask out that person. You're not afraid to interact with other people, okay? You're not afraid to show your true self. Somewhere along the line, your true self got hurt, okay? And you hid it away. The hurt was so deep that at that time, you felt if you show your true self to anyone, it's going to destroy you, right? It triggered that deep part of your mind. The good news is we can overcome this fear forever, right? And to do that, you've got to really understand the truth of who you are. When I say true self, I'm talking about you as just consciousness, you as awareness. That consciousness, that awareness that is always present, right? Always has been, always will be. The witness of experience. That part of, it's not even a part, that thing that is everything. It's always there. It's one with everything, right? If you were able to get beyond your ego, which is really just a collection of thoughts, memories, feelings, and sensations, if you were somehow able to free yourself and find the true self, the witness, the awareness, you would understand that awareness cannot be diminished or rejected in any way. It is everything. It cannot be rejected. The idea of rejection doesn't exist for everything. So if you truly identified with being this everything, then if you were rejected, it means everything would be rejected, which is just not true. The only thing that can be rejected is something limited. It's your ego that you wrongly believe to be you, that is limited, that feels the rejection. But when you begin to understand and almost align with the truth of who you are, when you begin to identify with unlimited consciousness, you start to take on its qualities, right? Naturally. Whatever we identify with, we become an expression of it. And this isn't like any ego, just your personality will naturally shift. All human beings have a personality, right? Even if you're enlightened, you're going to have a personality. So as you align with unlimited consciousness, which cannot be diminished or rejected, that is always present, you start to take on them qualities, right? You really start to know that you cannot be rejected. Obviously, you will start to express that. Like I've said before, the lack of a fear of rejection is confidence, okay? You will be able to pursue the things you want. You'll be confident. You will be able to ask out whoever you want. You won't be afraid of rejection. Even if they reject you or say no, you might feel a little sting, but you'll know that what you truly are cannot be diminished in any way, and you'll brush it off, probably in a very short time. Even if you get rejected in that interaction, I'm pretty sure it'll go much better if you weren't afraid of being rejected. Same in your social experiences. If you really understood that you cannot be rejected or diminished or judged by anyone, then it's going to transform all of your relationships, right? So this is the ultimate, or this is one of the deepest fears that I think holds back so many people in so many areas of life. And the ultimate solution is to find the true self, is to identify with it. I know some people might try to fix this fear on the level of mind, like reprogramming your beliefs. I would suggest that the best thing to do is just to transcend the mind. Personally, I found trying to work on the level of mind, there's too many kind of loopholes. It's just a very complex system to work with, right? It's just so complex. So just go beyond it. Find the true self. Anytime you go beyond something, you become the master of it. So if you find your true self and you transcend your mind will naturally be below you. You'll be able to change it more easily. I do see a lot of people trying to work on the level of the mind. The best way to change your mind is to transcend it. Then you've got power over it. Okay? And that's why the spiritual path is the ultimate path. The ultimate self-development path, right? That's where all the power is. Not in the mind, not just changing little beliefs and stuff. Just transcend it. Go beyond it. And then from that place, you'll have much more conscious kind of control over it, right? You'll shed away a lot of the negativity in the programs. They'll just fall away. You won't even need to work on reprogramming them. Because when you align with unlimited being, consciousness, which is always present, it's all powerful, cannot be diminished, just think about how that's going to change your energy and change your whole psychology, right? You'll be a completely different animal. This is the ultimate path. Self-realization, self-growth, whatever you're trying to achieve, this is it. Okay? So, yeah, I hope this video helped you. You might disagree with me. You might think there's other fears that are worse. If you do, I'd love to hear about that. So please let me know. Or anything you've got to add, hit me up down below. But otherwise, that's everything I've got to talk about in the video. If you enjoyed it, if you could please go ahead, give a like, share, subscribe. Check me out on Instagram. Download my book if you haven't already. Otherwise, until next time, remember to keep living free and being free. Peace.